When she crumpled, that fear dove into Adrian. Help. She had to get help. But he caught her on the stairs, snapped her head back as he grabbed the tail of curly hair and yanked. She screamed for her mother.
Yeah, you call Mommy.
He slapped her so the sting burned like fire in her face.
We want to talk to Mommy.
As he dragged her up the stairs, Lena ran out of the bedroom in a robe, her hair still wet from the shower.
Adrian Rizzo, what the—
She stopped, stood very still as she locked eyes with the man.
Let her go, John. Let her go so you and I can talk. You've done enough talking. You ruined my life, you stupid hick.
I didn't talk to that reporter or to anyone about you. That story didn't come from me.
Liar.
He yanked Adrian's hair again, so hard it felt like her head was on fire. Lena took 2 careful steps forward.
Let her go, and we'll work it out. I can fix this. Too fucking late. The university suspended me this morning. My wife is mortified. My children, and I don't believe for one fucking minute this little bitch is mine, are crying. You came back here, back to my city to do this.
No, John. I came for work. I didn't talk to the reporter. It's been over 7 years, John. Why would I do this now? At all? You're hurting my daughter. Stop hurting my daughter.
He hit Mimi.
Adrian could smell her mother's shower and shampoo, the subtle sweetness of orange blossoms, and the stink from the man she didn't know was sweat and bourbon.
He hit her in the face, and she fell down.
What if you— Lena took her eyes off him to look over the railing that ran across the 2nd floor. She saw Mimi, face bloody, crawling behind a sofa. She tracked her gaze back to John. You have to stop this, John, before someone gets hurt. Let me—
I'm hurt, you fucking whore.
His voice sounded hot and red like his face, like the fire burning in Adrian's scalp. I'm sorry this happened, but—
My family's hurt. Want to see some hurt? Let's start with your bastard.
He threw her. Adrian had the sensation of flying, brief and terrifying, before she hit the edge of the top step. The fire that had been in her head now burst in her wrist, her hand flared up her arm. Then her head banged against the wood, and all she could see was her mother as the man lurched toward her. He hit her. He hit her, but her mother hit back and kicked. And there were terrible sounds, so terrible she wanted to cover her ears, but she couldn't move, could only sprawl on the steps and shake. Even when her mother shouted at her to run, she couldn't. He had his hands around her mother's throat, shaking her, and her mom hit him in the face, like he had Mimi. There was blood on her mom, on the man. They were holding each other, almost like a hug, but hard and mean. Then her mother stomped down on his foot, jerked her knee up, and when the man stumbled back, she shoved. He hit the railing. Then he was flying. Adrian saw him fall, arms waving. She saw him crash into the table where her mother put flowers and candles. She heard those terrible sounds. She saw the blood run out from his head, his ears, his nose. She saw— Then her mother lifted her, turned her, pressed her face to her breast. Don't look, Adrian. It's all right now.
It hurts.
I know. Lena cradled Adrian's wrist. I'm going to fix it. Mimi. Oh, Mimi. The police are coming. Her eyes swollen, half closed, already blackening, Mimi wobbled up the steps, then sat and put her arms around both of them. Help's coming. Over Adrian's head, Mimi mouthed 2 words. He's dead. Adrian would always remember the pain, and the quiet blue eyes of the paramedic who stabilized the green stick fracture in her wrist. He had a quiet voice, too, when he shined a little light in her eyes, when he asked her how many fingers he held up. She'd remember the policemen, the first ones who came after the sirens stopped screaming, the ones in the dark blue uniforms. But most of it, even as it happened, seemed blurry and distant. They huddled in the second-floor sitting room with its view of the back courtyard and its little koi pond. Mostly the police in the uniforms talked to her mother because they took Mimi to the hospital. Her mother told them the man's name, Jonathan Bennett, and how he taught English literature at Georgetown University. Or did, when she knew him. Her mother said what happened, or started to. Then a man and a woman came in. The man was really tall and wore a brown tie. His skin was a darker brown and his teeth really white. The woman had red hair cut short and freckles all over her face. They had badges, like on TV shows. "Ms. Rizzo, I'm Detective Riley, and this is my partner, Detective Cannon." The woman hooked her badge back on her belt. "We know this is difficult, but we need to ask you and your daughter some questions." Then she smiled at Adrian. "It's Adrian, right?" When Adrian nodded, Riley looked back at Lena. "Is it all right if Adrian shows me her room? If she and I talk there while you talk to Detective Cannon?"
Will it be quicker that way? They took my friend, my daughter's nanny, to the hospital. Broken nose, concussion. And Adrian has what the paramedic thinks is a green stick fracture on her left wrist, and she hit her head.
"You look a little rough yourself,"
Cannon commented, and Lena shrugged, then winced at the movement.
Bruised ribs will heal, so will my face. He really focused on my face.
"We can have you taken to the hospital now and talk there once you've seen a doctor."
I'd rather go when you're finished downstairs.
Understood. Riley looked back at Adrian.
Is it okay if we talk in your room, Adrian?
I guess so.
She got up, holding her arm in its sling close to her chest.
I won't let you take my mom to jail.
Don't be silly, Adrian. Ignoring her mother, Adrian stared into Riley's eyes. They were green, but lighter than her mother's.
I won't let you.
Got it. We're just going to talk, okay? Is your room up here?
2 doors down on the right, Lena said. Go on, Adrian. Go with Detective Riley. Then we'll go check on Mimi. Everything's going to be fine.
Adrian led the way, and Riley put her smile back on as they walked into a room done in soft pinks and spring greens. A big stuffed dog lay on the bed. This is a pretty great room, and really tidy.
I had to clean it up this morning, or no going to see the cherry blossoms and get ice cream sundaes.
She winced, much like Lena had.
Don't tell about the sundaes. We were supposed to get frozen yogurt.
Our secret. Is your mom really strict about what you eat?
Sometimes. Mostly.
Tears sparkled into her eyes.
Is Mimi going to die like the man did?
She got hurt, but not real bad. And I know they're taking good care of her. How about we sit here with this guy?
Riley sat on the side of the bed, gave the big dog a pat. What's his name?
He's Barkley. Harry gave him to me for Christmas. We can't have a real dog now because we live in New York and travel too much.
He looks like a great dog. Can you tell me and Barkley what happened?
It poured out, a flood through a break in a dam.
The man came to the door. He kept buzzing and buzzing, so I went out to see. I'm not supposed to open the door myself, so I waited for Mimi. She came out from the kitchen and opened the door. Then she tried to shut it again really fast, but he pushed it open and he pushed her. He almost knocked her down.
Did you know him?
Nuh-uh, but Mimi did because she called him John and told him to go away. He was mad and yelling and saying bad words. I'm not supposed to say them.
That's okay. Riley kept petting Barkley like he was a real dog.
I get the gist.
He wanted to see my mom, but Mimi said she wasn't here even though she was. She was upstairs taking a shower. And he kept yelling, and he slapped her face. He hit her. You're not supposed to hit. Hitting somebody is wrong.
It was wrong.
I yelled at him to leave her alone because he had her arms and he was hurting her. And he looked at me. He didn't see me before, but he looked at me, and it made me scared how he looked at me.